Okay, so I switched out the characters, the punching bag with Chocolate Man, because I feel like I'm gonna need him in a second for what I'm about to do. Anyways, so I have a bunch of attacking animations, such as a quick punch, a quick kick, a slow punch, and a slow kick, and an aerial attack, and a low punch and low kick. So a lot of people don't like doing the traditional fighting game style thing where you have like 4 moves, because you have 4 buttons in an arcade. But I don't know, things have changed. Like, people usually like put one barrage of combos onto like one animation. I find it a lot easier to do it this way though. So we're gonna make a new group called attacking, which in this group, if you press fire button 1, I should probably set what I want all these buttons to be so I don't get confused. You don't have to do this. I'm just like trying to organize myself. Instead of pressing spacebar to jump, I'm gonna press up to jump, the up button. I'm gonna make my fire button 1 the Z key, 2 is gonna be X, 3 is C, and 4 is V. ZXCV. That sounds so familiar, like a radio station. Anyways, first fire button will be my quick punch. The second will be my quick kick. If I can find it. And there it is. The third will be my slow kick. Not slow kick, but slow punch. Slow punch. And then fourth will be the slow kick. Okay, so now that we have all of those, we don't want it to get stuck if you repeatedly press it. So after quick punch is over, it's going to restore the animation sequence. I'm going to copy all of this 4 times. Quick punch, replace that with quick kick. Replace this with slow punch. Replace this with slow kick. And as you can see, he can fight now. Except his attacks are pretty fast for a big guy, so I'm gonna go ahead and slow these down. Let me make that about 20. Flip it. Quick kick. 20. Flip that. Slow punch. The slow punch should definitely be slower at about like 15. And slow kick down to 15. Okay, so now that he's able to hit, we need to make some kind of hidden effect that shows that the enemy is, hit. And if you don't know how to do that already, you should go to each animation, go closely to the actual target point that's hitting him, and put the action point there, and keep it on it throughout each frame. Keep it following the hand until it gets where it's supposed to be. Let me draw something up really quick. What should I draw? I don't know. That looks horrible, but okay. I'm gonna put the hot spot right here. Copy it. Go to disappearing. Paste it. make about 10 frames. Oh, I'm sorry, I probably should have resized those throughout the 10 frames. I just delete all these. Zoom it to about 130 and 10 frames. Cool. You can't see that, but let's see. Alright, zooms out pretty nice. Let me change the speed to about 80. Let me uncheck create at start because I don't want it there immediately. But anyways, animation quick punch is playing, and the animation frame just so happens to be number 2. Only when an action event loops, then it's going to create this active to his action point, where basically his fist is, and it'll change. Oh, I'm sorry, let me make so that that only happens if he's actually overlapping his target. Then his animation will change to getting hit. There we go. Gonna copy that 4 times. Change quick punch to quick kick. Change this to slow punch. And change this to slow kick. So right about now it just looks like this. But as you can see, that doesn't look fancy at all. In fact, it looks absolutely terrible, because it looks like a blob of white is just appearing out of nowhere. So what I'm going to do is make so that when my target's animation is over, his getting hit animation is over, that, you know, he doesn't freeze up. Restore his animation sequence, and I'll do that with the rest of his animations later, but right now got to get back into this. I'm gonna put an always event right here. Always effect, set alpha blending coefficient to effect alpha blending coefficient plus 9. We're gonna do the same thing with this new active object that I'm bringing out, which is pretty much just going to be like a white circle. This white circle is going to be a bouncing ball movement. We're going to give it an alterable value, and we're going to title it SPD, like the Power Rangers, except you can't call it speed because Multimedia Fusion is a jerk. We're going to set the speed to 30. We're going to set this movement to bouncing ball, and we're going to uncheck create at start because we don't want to see it yet. We're going to drag this set alpha blending coefficient thing here, and we're going to drag where it says active object 2. You can't see my mouse pointer, but it says active object 2 on this event, and we're going to drag it all the way here. Basically, when that's created, you know, more of those are going to be created. Just going to start a loop here, which is called particle, and we're going to start it 5 times. Going to drag that onto each attacking thing here. So on loop particle, we're going to create about 5 of those all at once on top of this object here that looks like a white blob of nothing. And we're going to go back to this always up here. We're going to subtract from SPD, Power Rangers, -1. We're going to set the movement speed to whatever that SPD value is, Power Rangers. And we're going to set the movement's maximum SPD Power Rangers to we're going to set that to whatever that's supposed to be. What it should do is spread out and go slower, just like that. Look like a bunch of particles coming out of whatever this is, so it doesn't just look like a blob of nothing. You can use different colors, or actual impacting looking colors to make it look like this guy's getting hurt. But so far it works. So far so good. Oh, the aerial attack. Let me just get right back into this. If animation jumping is playing and you press fire button 1, and his animation will change to aerial attack. So let's get into knockbacks and getting knocked back and whatnot. I'm gonna make a new group and we're gonna call it knockback. We're gonna make it so that first we're gonna go back to attacking, and we're gonna put the alterable values to use. We're gonna give him alterable values to the same as he has: jump timer, reach, balance, and knockback timer. One of which we won't need is jump timer or reach, well, 2 of which, but we will need balance and knockback timer for your enemy. Balance just shows how long he stays up, and the knockback timer shows how long he's going to be in the air. Pretty much work the same way as jumping, except you're falling. Back to this group. Every time you hit him, it's going to add to his balance 1, and we're going to do that with all of the attacking events. Add to balance 1, add to balance 1. Now let's go back to this group here. If his balance is greater or equal to what's a good number, 5. That's not an even number, but whatever. If it's greater or equal to 5, then it'll trigger his knockback timer. Well, first it'll change his animation to knockback. It'll set his Y position to -1. We're going to want to put this Y position to -1 up here above knockback, so that comes first. Anyways, and we're going to set knockback timer to 12. Animation is playing, which just so happens to be knockback. It'll set his Y position to Y position, oh sorry, that's X, Y position minus knockback timer. And while that's happening, it will subtract from the knockback timer by 0.3. See how that looks so far. And of course he floats into the air infinitely like he's going to heaven. I shouldn't have killed him. Y position minus the knockback timer. Subtract -3. Oh, I see what I did. This is supposed to be only when action event loops. Whenever you have something greater than something, you always have to put only when action event loops, or it continuously goes on forever and ever. And you don't want him to die, now do we? So he goes up into the air and he comes right back down. But it's strange because he's going straight into the air, and that's weird. So you want him to actually become knocked back. Gonna set this down to about 9 since 12 seems a little extreme for me. I'm gonna make it so that if animation knockback is playing, while his direction is facing right, then his X position is going to move in the opposite direction. So if he's facing right, then his X position will be going back, which is by this. I'm going to do that by about 4, so minus. And we're going to switch this up. If he's facing left, then we're going to add to it. Also, you're going to need this disappearing frame to just be one frame of him laying down on the ground. You're going to have that on loop. We're going to add in another altable value here, and we're going to call it get up timer. It's basically going to just let you know how long he's going to be on the ground, or if he ever gets up, you know, if he loses all his health. If animation knockback is playing and his Y position just so happens to be greater or equal to 414, then his animation will change to disappearing and his Y position will change to 414. It should look something like that, except that was way too far for one knockback, but it was a successful one. I should probably cut down on that by about 1 pixel. That's basically how you do it. The next tutorial we'll get into health bars and health and getting knocked out and stuff like that.